Hey, it's Benji Cole, son of Al Cole from CBS Radio and host of People of Distinction, the talk that gives an in-depth view of some of the most dynamic, intelligent, and successful people on the planet. Run to our website, peopleofdistinction.org for more info, or you can always email me directly at benji@alcoleenterprises.com. And on the line with us today, we have Robert Ackerman. We're going to be discussing his amazing novel, Buff. Now, it's available for purchase through Amazon as well as barnesandnoble.com. Head on over there today and pick up your copies. And I'm going to tell you why you need to do that in just a moment. Before we go any further, though, I want to take this opportunity and point out that Robert was brought to our network, People of Distinction, today by one of the best advertising firms in the business. And for my followers out there, you already know I'm talking about Orion Press. So listen, for my writers, if you have gone through your process, you have invested your blood, sweat, and tears at times creating your masterpiece, although now you've done it. Although now you need help moving the book you just finished developing. Well, if that's you, give yourself the best gift you could possibly give and contact Orion Press. I'm telling you, they're one of the best in the business to do it, and this is exactly what they specialize in. So head on over to orionpress.com today and gather all of the ways that their fantastic team is going to help you do just that. And listen, it is an absolute pleasure to have Robert here on the line. Now, a few moments ago, I mentioned you're going to want to run and pick up his novel, Buff. The reason why you need to do that is this is a book that needs to be on your shelf. It is a fantastic narrative that was written for entertainment, right? It was written to just get lost in, to take yourself out of the day-to-day monotony that has become life. This book is filled with a remarkable story. Again, fictional narrative, but probably as close to a superhero as we can get. I mean, this guy that we're going to learn about, that we follow in the book, has a very rare quote-unquote disorder. Now, I'm going to say quote-unquote because that disorder makes him almost a superhero, right? And you're going to see what I'm talking about in just a second. At the end of the day, Robert is the expert. It's his book. He's written it. He's going to be able to articulate everything much better than I ever could. Sit back and strap in. Robert, first and foremost, welcome to People of Distinction, and thank you very much for being a guest. How are you doing today, sir?
Well, I'm doing great talking to you, and thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Robert, the pleasure is all ours, man. I'm thoroughly looking forward to this. I think the book that you've created is such a unique concept. Given, I mean, listen, in this Marvel Cinematic Universe that we're all engulfed in currently, in all of the different superhero movies and shows and books that have been written, we know about people that are borderline superheroes, right? Or characters that have been created that way. But this is the first that I've heard where these, again, almost superhuman abilities come from this particular disorder. So I'm thoroughly looking forward to this. I know my listening audience is as well. So thank you for writing it. Thank you for being here to discuss it. Before we jump into your book, Robert, start off by telling us a little bit more about yourself and your background.
Okay, I was born in Winter, a little town in Winter, South Dakota, and moved to Rapid City when I was 6, and my dad had a restaurant, and when I was young, they were making part of the movie How the West Was Won Here, and I got to know George Peppard and Henry Fonda, Lloyd Nolan, and Richard Widmark, and had lunch with Richard Widmark, and was an extra in the movie, and I had a lot of fun. And my early life was not really exciting, but I would guess that most of my life has been very interesting. The Chinese have a curse, and it says, "May you live an interesting life."
I love that.
Yeah, you did that?
Robert, thank you for explaining, man. Listen, again, it's a true pleasure to have you here with us. Without further ado, the anchor is all about your novel, Buff. Tell us a little bit more about it.
Well, one day I was Googling, which I Google a lot, and I've been studying climate change for 20 years and stuff, and I Googled and I saw something called myostatin muscular-related hypertrophy. And then I Googled it and read up on it, and I thought, my God, this would have to make a great book. This is really interesting. And so I wondered what kind of book I should write. And I thought, well, I think a real action book with a lot of twists and turns. So I wrote Buff from when he was young and he got beat up, and his dad got beat up and paralyzed. And I can't remember how old Buff was, but his dad put him in karate and jiu-jitsu and taekwondo. Mm-hmm. And they both got beat up, and his dad got paralyzed. And so he has Buff take all these martial arts courses, so he'd be one of the toughest guys around. And then he finds out he has myostatin related muscular hypertrophy when he's real young. So by the age of 3, he could do a cross on the bars. You know what I mean? The rings, cross on the rings.
Yeah.
He was so strong at that age already. And he just get better and better, bigger and bigger. And by the time he was 12, he was 6'2" and 200 and some pounds when his dad, and he got beat up severely by some people mad at his dad for beating up one of their friends. So he becomes a deputy sheriff, and he helps take down drug gangs and stuff, and he becomes sheriff, and they take down a huge meth operation and other action, and then he decides to start training Belgian Malinois, which look a lot like a German Shepherd, only they're a little lighter, and they're starting to use them all over the world because they just happen to be a little better than the German Shepherd. They're a little lighter, and they're a little faster, and they don't have hip dysplasia. So he raises these Belgian Malinois and teaches them to track drugs, cadavers, live people, everything he can. And he uses Buff to go to rescues where there's a big earthquake and where there's a big hurricane, and he helps rescue people from buildings that have been flattened, and he just has a real interesting life.
Mm-hmm. You know, thank you very much for articulating that, Robert. My next question, we got to go a little bit more in depth with the particular disorder, right? Because listen, here's the thing. I'm not even going to try. Well, I think it was myostatin related muscular hypertrophy. I mean, people say that 5 times fast, okay? But
really.
This particular rare disorder, first and foremost, this is not something you created. This is an actual thing that people are affected with, correct? Talk to us a little bit more about that.
It is a condition that causes the body no harm.
And what are some of the effects or the symptoms of that particular condition? Can you explain to our listening audience?
Well, a symptom would be like if your 3-year-old can come out in the garage and you got rings there and you put him up on there and he can do a cross, something. And he took him to the doctor and he says, yeah, he's got myostatin-related muscular hypertrophy. He can be as strong as he wants to be.
So that's where I wanted to get to. So people, this rare condition, again, absolutely true. This is not a fictional thing that he has created. This rare condition,
absolutely true.
This rare condition in those individuals that possess it have reduced body fat and increased muscle size. I mean, we're talking about real live human hulks is basically what we're getting at. I love this. This is fantastic. Robert, talk to me a little bit more about the inspiration behind it. Where did you design or come up with this concept?
Well, when I read myostatin-related hypertrophy and I Googled it, and I just thought, man, this would make a good book. I didn't know what exactly, but I right away got an idea, and Buff came out.
Mm-hmm. Now, sticking with the concept of inspiration, but let's broaden it a bit. When it comes to writing, when it comes to creative writing, Robert, was this something that was always a part of you? I mean, was it a hobby growing up that you loved to do? Where does the love for creative writing come from?
Well, it comes from having an English teacher in high school that was absolutely tremendous. And then I started writing a lot of letters to the editor and stuff. And I always have loved to read books. I've read books all my life. Mm-hmm. And I was in a writer's group, and we'd write on different topics. And I just fell in love with the process of writing.
Absolutely. People, I'm telling you, Amazon, Barnes & Noble are where you got to go. Buff is the novel that you have to pick up, and you have Robert Ackerman to thank for all of it. This is a magnificent novel that you just need to get lost in. I mean, I'm telling you, this is going to be something on a rainy day, you're going to yearn to have this on your shelf. This is a story you don't want to miss. You know, follow-up question here for you, Robert, and really curiosity for myself, but what would you say was a highlight for you in writing the book? Or if not a highlight, something that surprised you that you weren't anticipating before you began?
Well, I guess I was just surprised at how many different ideas came to me about what Buff could do. Something that always had popped in my head. And,
something that connects to that answer. But a follow-up question that I want to ask is, with regards to the writing process, Robert, can you describe a time where your characters or even the storyline took on its own life, surprising even you as the author?
Well, that's what happened with this book. I just thought, where did that come from? Where did that come from? And I thought, well, I think it'll be good in the book. Mm-hmm. So I don't know where it comes from, but it came easily for this book. I wrote it pretty quickly because it just came to me.
Yeah. And listen, diving down the rabbit hole a little bit here, Robert, if you could enter the world of the book that you've created, and you can land on any page within it, which page would you choose to land on and why?
Oh, give me a second here. Which page? There are so many, but I choose to live in the Midwest with a Belgian mother-in-law and go out and help rescue and find people and stuff like that.
So, Robert, it sounds like you would choose to just be this character. That's what it sounds like to me.
I think I wouldn't mind. Yeah, if I had that stuff, I don't know if I'd work out like this guy did, but I'd be twice as strong as anybody else, no matter what I did.
Seems like a pretty good thing to have at your disposal, right? That's not a bad thing.
Yeah, doesn't it though?
I love it.
Yeah.
People, listen, in addition to Buff, that's the book you want to get right now. That's what's available at this moment. But that's not the only thing that Robert has in store. Now, he has another book that he's in the process of writing, so it's not available for purchase just yet. But you're going to want to check back into his Amazon and Barnes & Noble pages frequently because he has another book that is an autobiography that is on the horizon. Now, Robert, as we start to close out of this fantastic interview, I'd love to give you this opportunity. Can you go into a little bit of a detail of what that autobiography is going to entail? Clearly, it's about your life, but are there particular points of your life that you discuss in the book that you want to let us know here today so we have an extra teaser of what to expect?
Well, one time I decided to go meditate in the cave, and I couldn't find the light switch, and so I made a torch, and I went in, and God snuffed it out, and I was in there for 3 days and 18 hours before I was rescued, and I think God wanted me to be in the belly of the earth for 3.5 days. I don't know, but anyway, that is one of the more interesting things in my life, but my life's been very interesting.
There you have it. Hey, listen, people, I'm telling you, Buff is just the beginning. That's the tip of the iceberg. There's a lot happening here. You're going to want to check out that autobiography the moment it becomes available, because just that one little story that he told already has me hooked. I know a lot of you can relate as well. Robert, as we start to close out of this fantastic interview, man, we have discussed so much information here today. But is there anything that we haven't yet touched up on, or maybe something we have that you want to make sure that you double down on and re-impress for our listening audience before we go?
Just thanks for the opportunity to talk to you. I hope you'll buy my book, Buff, and if you don't like it, give it to somebody you don't like, or give it to somebody that likes this type of action novel. And I hope people buy the book.
There you have it. Well, listen, Robert, I find it hard to believe that people are going to pick up this book and not enjoy it. Again, unless you're just not an action fan, like he said, it's not the genre for you, okay. But everybody else, I mean, listen, this is something that's going to need to be on your shelf. This is something that would not surprise me if in the future we saw it on the Hollywood screen or the television screen in front of you, because this has Hollywood all over it. Amazon, Barnes & Noble. The story is called Buff, and it's written by Robert Ackerman. Head on over there today, pick up your copies, check back in frequently for his autobiography the moment that becomes available. You can thank me later. Robert, this has been a true pleasure, man, an absolute delight. Thank you once again for being a guest on People of Distinction.
Thank you, Benji. You've been wonderful. I was a little worried, but you made it easy.